Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for being to listen. Symbiotic learning in the AI age. My name is Xavier Matieni. I'm one of the innovators in the University of Northampton. So my background is control engineering, but I love to explore areas of interest in everything. I don't have a special area, and I struggle sometimes to say when people are discussing with Simon and what do we say normally? Transfer of knowledge instead of communicating knowledge. The best word to be communicating knowledge. So we talk about AI, but what is not AI? If we sit outside there, sunny, lovely day, and no one in the world will think, what if it were real? No. So that approach of the system, we're going to introduce symbiotic learning in the AI age, integrating reflective practice, which I heard here, my friend, my co-presenter, they were introducing reflective practice and systems thinking, how we use distinction, system and system relationship and perspective, and also the inquiry and quantum cognition for adaptive and inclusive education. What is it? So overview, we got why traditional education must evolve. Yes, I'm right with all the colleagues who are here talking about embracing AI. Embracing AI. But what is not AI? That's a question that comes in my head. So the AI Yarema in academia, introducing symbiotic learning, theoretical foundation, core component of an application, challenges and opportunity, and then we're going to conclude. In AI Yarema, there is a student, a female student in the Northeastern College, I think in the United States. She went to claim a fees back because she called a professor using ChatGPT, and she wanted her fees back. And there is another one, Seed Bank. I don't know. Have you ever heard of it? She's an entrepreneur, I believe. They say AI is a force multiplier of anything you do. Suppose that I give you for the next 30 days, 1,000 pounds. And that is option A. The option B would be, I'll give you £1 today, tomorrow, I'll double it. Or double, I keep double, and after 30 days, what do you think? Which option will you go for? What do you think about it? It'll be more. That's a growth. Yeah, we are making a good choice. When it comes to AI, it's multiplying. And then move on. This guy, John Dewey, said, we do not learn from experience. We learn from reflecting on experience. I'm not going to comment on that. Let's move on. And this guy, have you ever seen this? Hey guy, have you ever seen someone ski around both sides of the tree at the same time? Quantum thinking, embracing possibilities. Yeah, we need to embrace all the possibilities. There's no right or wrong answer. We have to go beyond the right or wrong. Yeah, everything we call real is made of things that cannot be regarded as real. That is, this guy is a physicist, isn't it? And this is what we are doing. Is traditional education preparing learners or just processing them? Are we processing them? So I'll say something about macro-analyzation process in education nowadays. Yeah? So This is an outdated models. This is outdated model. They assume linearity. Fails to address the real world complexity. How do we solve complex problems? Wicked problems. How do we solve them? What approach do we adopt? We're going to come back to the lack of support for diverse learners. We talk about personalization. Yes, students are not just numbers. They're human beings with needs. That's how we see them. At the top level, they're just numbers. I'm not going to go deep to that. And the AI dilemma in academia, I just say one. Either students are cheating or are doing the right thing. And I heard the colleague say integrity. What is integrity? Yeah. One of my students said, "Oh, you are cheating?" I said, "No, we are trying to be creative." I said, "Really?" And another one said, ChatGPT, we are not using ChatGPT. ChatGPT is using us. So which one is the correct? So we don't know whether creativity versus automation. We need to see into that. Yeah, and ethics is the key as well. It's key when it comes to this. We don't know what are we doing the right thing or not. Come, we need to think. Suppose that everyone got a certificate, some of them without knowledge or understanding, and we are in the medical school. And you say we're going to use prompts. Yes, fine. But one day you are sick, you go to the hospital, you need operation, surgery, and the one you were prompting better is the one that's going to operate on you. Will you sit there? Yeah. You're going to run, okay? So we have to think. I'm not criticizing that, but let's think deep in that. What kind of knowledge are we imparting? Yeah? So let's think. This presentation is about thinking. Nothing. I'm not arguing. So we define authorship. Is AI helping or replacing thoughts? Where does co-creation and plagiarism begin? Those are the questions we have to ask ourselves. Where should we assess? Even when we say evaluation, and what is the criteria of evaluation? What are they? What would be one criteria of evaluation? We need to think about it. We can problem in front of us when it comes to teaching and learning. The leaking bias. You might think you are fixing one problem, you are creating another one. Yeah? You are fixing one problem, you find the solution, but that causes another problem. That's what we are seeing nowadays. Yeah? But what is the best approach? We need a holistic view. To see things as a whole. When we talk about curriculum, not just one part, and that is a Russian guy called Vygotsky. He said, focus on the process, not the object. We are mostly focusing on the object instead of the process as a whole. That is systems thinking. So there's no single solution. So all is interconnected. In terms of quantum learning, there is a principle, entanglement. It's mean that all is interconnected. It's not just one aspect, many other. Think about a why strategy. A why strategy, this guy here that I'm king, Simba was smart. It's not just because he was the king, but Simba had a good strategy. What did he do? He was accused of killing his father, and he ran away. He met Timon and Pumbaa. And he went to a different environment. And the food was not what he was expecting. And he even forgotten his identity. Playing with Timon and Pumbaa as if Yeah, he became one of them. But there is a breach theory, and for this mathematician, when there is little strength in the hand, it is idle to lead from the weakest point. That's me. When you are in front of complexity, think about flexibility, think about adaptation, think about the rate of change, how things are changing. Think also about modularity, breaking things in chunks, and abstraction, filtering. Think what is essential. Don't embrace everything. Yes, ChatGPT is good, AI is good. Let's filter. Let's filter what is the essence of education. Yeah? Is it not bringing the best out of our students, or is it bringing the best of ChatGPT? That's a question to figure out. So, this study will be based on thematic system, there's a systematic digital review with a few keywords such as quantum cognition, adaptive learning, inquiry-based learning, research, design research, so on. AI in education, system thinking, embracing ESRB, by my friend Cabrera, University of coordinated. So let's see, what is symbiosis? I'm not going to read everything. It is meaning together, meaning life, broadening usage, metaphorical expansion, and into field, and so on. So this is the idea, bringing everything together. So this is what it is, defining symbiotic learning, and integration, model, learner, educator, AI. We are all co-agent, co-creator. We are creating, and why we should be that? The greater inclusion, flexibility, as I say, in front of complexity. We are flexibility to adapt and cognitive scaffolding through AI. So this is how we can reflective practice with AI, observe, reflect, test, refine. That's what we always do, according to Stone's model of reflection in action. This is the distinction, systems, relationship perspectives by Cabrera, understanding system thinking. I can explain it shortly, it's like, what is a cat and what is not a cat? What is the relationship between a cat and a dog? Are they pets? They live at the same place? That's a relationship. Our perspective. A dog cannot meow. The cat cannot bark. But no, we have to accept everyone's perspectives. Yeah. Some of us, they don't want AI to be part of what we're doing. And some of us, yes, we are adopting it. We are embracing it. So even our own perspectives contain. That's the aspect of modularity. If we don't solve one part and leaving the rest, and the time is pressing. And in terms of quantum thinking, we got superposition, as you see the guy seeing on both sides of the tree at the same time, probability. If we know today, we might know tomorrow. We cannot say that we know tomorrow, we're going to predict tomorrow. We don't know the present moment. It's not possible to know everything where we are. Probably are forgotten, some of us are not here. So that is, we need to predict, not just ascertain, yes, it should be this way. No, it's not possible. And an entanglement of those is we are together and we are interconnected when it comes to learning and teaching. Also, whatever we focus on becomes reality. That's what it is. And learning as inquiry is a student as problem framers, co-agents, human AI, collaboration. AI suggests doesn't solve. Suggest doesn't solve. If you leave everything to AI, then you are not getting the essence of learning. And personalization, as you say, co-learning, and all that is to augment, not to replace us, and not be replaced. So we need to support neurodiversity, accept everything how they come, and personalize in terms of needs, not in terms of number. So we got challenges, bias in AI, ethics in automation, scalability of this system is what I want us to focus on. Probably we can collaborate on this one, symbiotic system, towards symbiotic future. This is the conclusion of the last one here. Partnership in research, policy integration, cross-sector application. So symbiotic learning reframes not just how we use AI, but how we understand learning as co-evolutionary and deeply human. Thank you. Oh, no. Simba is more about Hakuna Matata.
So, any questions? It was rather philosophical.
Okay, so Laura from Coventry University. So my question to you is, this is interesting. What does this mean in practice? What would this mean for my class team, for example, or my teaching team? How do we use this philosophical approach to rethink how we engage with our students and how we embed AI?
And mostly, when you're using, for example, symbiotic learning, you don't have one perspective, you have multiple perspectives. You call everyone to bring and solve one problem, because there is no solution to a wicked problem apart from intervention, be it a mental model or mental health problem. People say, okay, let's be critical. Let's use data. Let's use intuition. But there is a limitation over it as well. Data cannot solve all the problems. We need to be beyond that. And what we do normally, we run a session, a simulation, saying what is causing what is impacting what. We use fencing, I don't know whether you heard of that. Fencing to simulate model or MATLAB as well. You can use MATLAB, there's a possibility to see how things and the web of causality, what is causing what. That's what we normally do with our students. And now we are involved in a project with mental health. Mental health, relapse, and addiction. We're saying what are the variables, what is impacting what, and we run a simulation with fencing to see the sub-causes as well. And we can make intervention. We can propose solutions. Not the exact solution, but some kind of near optimal.
The next question coming from
just you talk about AI as opposed to Gen AI. How are you differentiating the two? You talk about artificial intelligence or AI within your presentation. Some of the conversation this afternoon has been on generative AI. So I'm just wondering, how are you using the term AI? Are you using it to encompass both?
That is not generative AI. It's not an aspect of AI. I don't know. You're talking about tools, or you're talking about the general theory? Both. Yeah? For me, general AI is the general term used when it comes to somebody machine learning, what else? Deep learning. Yeah, they're under an environment, the universe of AI. So generative AI mostly is an application of my phone.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm talking about the umbrella of AI.
Just clarifies it a little bit.
Any other question?
Any other questions?
Okay.
Just a short comment from me. There was a question where does creativity end, yes, and plagiarism start? So in terms of intertextual theory, my working note was intertextual text. There is like a citation from Roland Barthes, a literary theorist, and he said that every new text is a patchwork of the older text. And you know, it's somehow kind of AI that is doing this work. So it's a means of intertextuality, we may say. But yes, it also like raises a lot of technical issues nowadays.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Simon, Sneddon from the University of Northampton, and Simon has provided a blue
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. My first thing to do is apologise. If I've lured you here with red pills and blue pills and ideas and matrix, when I submitted the abstract, I hadn't written the paper. And now I've written the paper, there is no blue pill, there is no will be going in the exam. We have to have the red pill. So I've changed the title because I'm a lawyer. I've got a reasonable doubt because I'm physically capable of writing any kind of title without an embedded pun. So yeah, my name is Simon Sneddon. I'm Associate Professor of Learning and Teaching and Deputy Head of Law at the moment, although that comes to an end because there's a big restructure. So I'm Deputy Head of Law for the next 5 weeks. It's very exciting. So my outline is, obviously, I'm coming into the set. There's a thing called ChatGPT. Probably of all the audiences I've spoken to, you guys don't need me to go through a history of AI and ChatGPT, but lots of debates. Some positive. AI will save us time. AI will unlock potential work-life balance. All these other utopian things. Some are negative. All the students will immediately cheat at everything, and we won't be able to detect it. They'll all become biased. Will force us to become biased. The world will burn because all the data farms are fueled by burning companies or something. All these things. But I'm looking at this. This appears to be a question that everyone in academia is trying to duck. People do it, and my perspective is we need to set some kind of framework up for using AI to mark work, because people are doing it anyway, and much better. Same as students using. We could take a blue pill. Well, I can be. We could take a blue pill and pretend that students aren't using AI and doesn't exist and live a happy lives. We could also pretend that some of our colleagues aren't using smart without any ethical approval or any processes. They are. So there are things. Top marks exist. Keith, excellent name. Marking AI. The Department of Education said last week that they were going to start allowing AI to be used in schools for marking work. Performance of work was their focus. John Henry, who is in the room, but was in the other room this morning, said we know the literature generally agrees that human marking isn't objective. It's pretty much subjective because we're people. And the utopian view is that AI marking could be objective, or at least it is biased and be equally biased in all the taste divisions. That's not great. These are intended to go on one by one, so pretend you can see some of them. Academics don't like marking. This is a revelation, I'm sure. I'm sure we're most thinking, you know, 32 degrees, we're really on this. But marking is part of who we are. If we don't mark student work, what are we for? This has come from conversations with colleagues. There's a real existential angst about if the marking goes away, what do we do? We'll lose touch with our students. There is some research that says if you don't mark any student work, you're going to never get to know your students because you won't meet them. I kind of buy into that, but the Open University, lots of universities have marking teams and teaching teams and delivery teams who aren't the same people. So this is nothing new. AI is quicker. We'll come to that. But if one person can do the job of 2 people, why don't the university do the second person? Because universities are warm, nourishing, who don't care about funding. Clearly. AI doesn't get tired, doesn't get frustrated. I did a talk yesterday, weirdly, for the Macedonian military, using the Terminator quote Sarah Connor has about the Terminator will never get tired, it will never get cross, it will never get angry. This is AI. AI is consistent, not biased. Not sure about that. My favourite one is this one. AI is not as good. And when you ask them what they mean, it's the feeling, I feel in my soul, it's not as good as AI. And no one can ever quantify what that means. Interestingly, I also found a survey last week that said more than 50% of secondary school teachers in the UK admitted in a survey to drinking wine while marking work. No one actually did that, obviously. AI is teetotal, so it's fine. There's various examples I'm relatively relatively quickly. So Lee looks at undergraduate computer science program. They judged accuracy on how well the AI matched the human markers, while simultaneously in the same document saying human markers are inaccurate, inconsistent, and everything else. This is not a criticism of them. They defined precision about how wide or narrow the variance was between what the AI marked the thing as and what the humans did, and said it can be used as a marking supplement or assistant rather than a replacement. Or they said use it as a moderation tool. And this is kind of where I started, that this is not about replacing us as academics, as markers. This is about there's an element of don't treat AI or Gen AI as if it's the enemy. Treat it as though it's a brand new colleague. When a new colleague starts, they don't know anything about your university systems, you train them and they get better. No one would dream of someone in their first ever semester of teaching going, here's 100 essays, mark them on your own, no one's going to check them. We would check them, we would look at that stuff, we would go through it. If they got it wrong, we would help, we would train them, we would do things. And that's just how we should be thinking about AI as an assistant, as a third marker, as a second marker. Flowden, looked at 3 postgraduate exams in tourism and logistics transport management. Again, the test was comparing to human marking. 2 sets of marks within 10% of each other, more than 70% of scripts. So the AI marking and the human marking, in more than 70% of work, they were within 10%, which is not brilliant. It's not enough to be let loose on its own, but it's not too far out from where you might expect a human marker and a human moderator to be. Mojaya looked at medical programs, short answers, formative. There was no explicit statement what efficiency was, but their conclusion, this is a quote from them, were benchmarked against expert human assessors, who in this case were paid and time rich. Time rich, that's the phrase. Anybody remember that from never? Shows favourable scheme of evaluation has the potential to have a significant impact on education. Increasingly reliable, timely, cost-effective grading solutions. So they also, their marks were different. They didn't mark in percentages, they marked in a grade 1 to 5. So broadly speaking, 1 was just the top 20% and so on. Remember that because we're coming back to it later. And STICE looked at feedback. Not very good. The project I did, marketing team, tries to do both. I don't know, I think mine was STICE were well paid and I'm rich. There are 5 criteria for feedback. The AI outperformed the humans on 1, which was the criteria-based feedback, but all were very close. And the STICE work, I recommend reading it, looked at quite a lot of detail about how good the feedback was. And the AI was marginally less good than the humans in 4 criteria and better than the humans in 1 criteria. So it seems that AI might be better at feedback than it is at market. So they concluded ChatGPT generated formatted feedback may be helpful, provide timely feedback, contextualise and frame use of it in non-experimental settings. So again, no silver bullet. There is no ChatGPT-shaped bullet. So what did I do? Well, I looked for law, and at the current moment, no one has published anything anywhere on using AI for marketing law, which I believe I'm about to be unceremoniously expelled from discipline for breaking ranks, or there's a whole raft of stuff that's about to happen. I don't know. So I took 2 modules, both undergraduate level 5 modules. There were 2023-24 cohorts, so their work has already been marked, it's already gone through all the processes, so there's no impact on the actual student. Full ethical approval, just having criticised people for not getting ethical approval. So there's about 140 students in total. 1 module was compulsory, 1 was designated. I took 1 assessment from each, and then created Mark GPT, which is a custom GPT based on ChatGPT-4. It's set up so none of the data is shared, so I can upload things safely. I was looking at grading and feedback, because, why not do both the same thing? I kind of wish I'd only done 1. It was an actual research project, so cycle 1 was 25 scripts. The asterisk is there because 1 of them was withdrawn later on by the student. So I then replaced it because I wanted a nice round number with a script on the same essay title generated by Copilot. I thought I'd get GPT to grade Copilot and see how that goes. Started a war there. Cycle 2 was 30 scripts, of which 3 were AI generated, just because we hadn't done that nicely. The grading was done using Excel because I'm not a statistician. If anyone wants more complicated statistical analysis, fraud and class analysis for the feedback. So fairly standard stuff. Cycle 1, I took, so what we had in cycle 1, we had the marker, the work that marked and moderated. I then gave it to an independent marker who ran through the whole lot without knowing any of the grades. I then gave it to bot. I then had a look. I then realised I'd messed up, and the marking criteria said distinction, merit, commendation, something I passed. I wanted to go in ABCD. So I ran it again, and it disagreed with itself a few times, which is interesting. But 12% of the grades were exact matches, and 28% were within 1 grade. So at this point, the university now moved on to marking percentages like normal people, but in those days we were marking alphabetically, so A plus A, or and so on. So in 28% of the results, where the new markers, let's say they're going to be, the ChatGPT gave either a B plus or a B minus. So again, not massively different from where you expect a human marking team to be. Using the Sneddon comparison, 80% were within 3 grades. And 3 grades for me would be 10%. So where he was looking at 10% in percentage terms, I was looking at 10% as the difference between A minus and B minus, or C plus and D plus. 80%, which is not too far out from what he found. The majority comparison was a little bit harder, because they were marking 1 to 5 and we were marking A to F. That's a fun game. But 30% matched exactly using these criteria, and 60% matched exactly, and 6% were within 1 grade of this. So that's 96% close or close back, which was surprising. But this is quite close. This would be, grading as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, rather than anything more nuanced. Grades, the cycle 2, which is done, again did the same thing. Raw data, 10% exact matches, 30% within 1 grade. Using Sneddon's comparisons, 69% were within 3 grades. Using the Mojaria one, 87% are within 1 grade. What I also found with cycle 1 is the bot was much more conservative in the grades it gave. So it gave B plus as its highest grade and C as its lowest grade, whereas the human markers had used A minus as the highest grade and F minus as the lowest grade. So that was taken care of in cycle 2. I told it to just use the whole range. Don't be so chicken. I'm going to go through this quite quickly now. Feedback themes, the shared themes in the middle. This is quite nice. There are 5 themes that were shared between the human marker and the bot. 2 were in the humans, 3 were owned by the bot. But you could probably link up broken flow and transition with weak thesis and essay structure. So with a bit more work on this, and if I could stop walking into the screen, you can see this is quite close. With cycle 2, it was closer. There were 4 shared themes. One was about the bot was picked up on sources more than we did, and understanding the concept we picked up more than they did. But again, relatively close. Was it time saving? Yes and no. It took 25 seconds to do the feedback and marking for cycle 1 and 30 seconds for 2. Assuming a human marker can mark 3,500 word essays properly in an hour, and some people are quicker, some are slower, that would take 18 hours. It took 55 seconds, but it also took a hell of a long time to set it up. Plus, the ethical approval, which I had to go through twice, by someone wanted to recycle, there were 2 or 3 weeks waiting. So, yes, it was quicker, no, it's not quicker, but if all that was integrated to the VAE and didn't have to be done eventually, yes, it would be much, much quicker. So what do I do with those 18 hours, I wonder? I would suffer from automation anxiety, which is nothing new. It's been around since the spinning Jenny. Time saving is cost saving, but we need to have safeguards put in place so that we're all still here next year. It's a blog. It's an unpeer-reviewed blog, which is very interesting. Talk about this dystopian view where the academic uses ChatGPT. I've built on that and made it even worse. So the academic uses GPT to write the article. The module tutor uses the article to write, uses GPT to use the article to write the module, and then to write an assessment, and the student completes the assessment using GPT, and the feedback is given to the student using GPT. The good thing is we can all go to the beach and drink sangria. The bad thing is we can't afford to because we'll all be unemployed. So you get up in this spiral down to the singularity. It's not accurate. There was at least one fake reference in there. There was missed. It's not that current. GPT says it can only use up to 2023. Copilot uses Bing, so it's a bit better. But for authentic assessment, you need absolute currency. So it's not great. There are things that the students would have used which the AI wouldn't recognise as being real things. It's not consistent yet. So it uses the same grade in only 21% of the essays. I didn't try and look at bias in terms of demographics, because otherwise it was far too big a piece of work, and actually all the pieces of work uploaded were anonymous anyway, so it didn't know who'd written it, but it probably has picked up on linguistic traits that some students would have. It's close. Look at it as a new colleague, but picking up on the point that Anna made when we were students, we must always bear in mind that it works for us. We do not work for it. The moment we lose track of the fact it's a tool that we use, the moment it starts to work, we start to work for it, all is lost. And then we really will want to take the blue pill. Thank you. There was a quick run through. I'm happy to chat in the break.
When you use the academic presentation, we should have questions. Yeah.
So the large language models are probabilistic, not deterministic. Did you, given it only takes 30 seconds, did you run the same material through the same system over and over again? and see how so the previous one.
For each cycle was a separate GT. So the first one, yes. So this is where it wasn't consistent with itself, when I changed things from distinction merit pass to ABC. That was the only change. Yeah, and it was saying, what I hadn't realised is the rubrics that were set up for us have distinction merit pass, where we were never grading that way. Probably change that now, so I have to go and explain that. So it was only consistent 1 in 5 times. The feedback was slightly different, the grade was slightly different. So it was learning for itself within that model, because the second module went through a second cycle, so there was no history for that, so I just changed the prompt. But it would be interesting. What I want to do next is do it again, so a completely clean GPT, a third one, and put in all of the assessments from the first two with a revised prompt, and see how consistent that is with itself, because it doesn't, the way the GPT sets up is it won't share any data with the LLM. So it learns within each conversation. I'm calling them conversations, but it doesn't port out between conversations. If that makes sense.
Something, for that to be true, something clever must be happening in the background, because the context is nowhere near big enough to deal with that number of essays, I would guess.
Yeah, and it's first go, and it needs a lot of refinement, but yeah.
We pick up some of these in the next session.
Yeah.
Two more questions. The first one, the second one, yes, goes from Darryn, and then
It's a two-part question. The first part is, did you upload each paper individually, or did you do a bulk upload?
Individually.
And did you notice the difference between the early and the later papers in their marks, as the GPT had learned from the early papers, and seen them before and seen if the question was the same?
I didn't look at that. I looked at the difference between cycle 1 and cycle 2, but not between essay 1 and essay 25, essay 1 and essay 30. But that's something I will look at now.
Thank you. Really interesting.
Thank you.
This is my first question about the advancement of ChatGPT. As we do more upgrading, is there an inherent danger of biasness, referencing them as the training model to be biased? Because you did mention that the model is consistent, but not necessarily, I want to use the word ethical or morally correct in terms of context. So there is danger there when we do this, there will be some biases that will be present in training.
I suspect it would reward certain language patterns that may have an ethnic difference, because we have a lot of international students who will be using English differently. I think the big, yes, there is a slight danger. I think the much bigger danger is the number of people who are using this on the unring-fenced GPT, and just only student essays, dissertations. There's now even a thesis bot that exists, so you get it for you. What was interesting, I didn't have time to go into a huge amount of detail, is the prompt for the GPT and the Copilot creating essays with the same question was write a mid-range essay based on these criteria. It was very mean to all of them. So it thought it had written a kind of low B, high C grade essay, grade most of the D. So it has some kind of inherent self-loathing. It's what you want from a globally bot system, is something that's self-loathing.
Depressive suicide.
Yeah.
any other questions? Yeah.
It's interesting how you might have a view on how that would work if you employed the same model using a different university's rubric, where they are, shall we say, slightly less generous than Northampton in their grading.
Yeah, it would, the first go through would probably not take any notice of that, but that would be part of the training. And so if we think of this as a new colleague, yeah, I've talked to different universities, they have very different standards. I know they're all supposed to be the same, but some are more equal than others. So it would be training. It also would be interesting what I'd like to do in the next couple of years, couple of decades, is looking at it more things that aren't in law, so criminology, criminal justice, that's another masters that we saw in, but also looking at from a business perspective, from a healthcare perspective. And there has been work on how students feel about this. That wasn't factored into this at all, but I think it's really important. We know from talking in healthcare that if the AI, and not generative AI, the AI is 80% accurate in detecting cancer cells in a petri dish, people will say, oh, that's ridiculous. I much prefer a human. Even 70% accurate. I still prefer a human. So there is that relation. So that's a whole difference. Human and machines.
We employ something like this, let's say in the future, there's a real risk. Students take a rubric that we publish, write their own prompt, say grade by essay.
Yeah, I said that's not a risk.
I'm not going to suggest any student do anything like that.
I think there will be students who are doing that right now.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm interviewing students at the moment about their use of AI for assignments, and of the 5 I've interviewed so far, all of them do exactly that. They upload the rubric and their completed essay, and I ask for weak points, ways to improve, etc.
Yeah.
Totally standard.
Yeah.
And I think your extension of the blog post, where it's just AI marking AI, inputting AI, is really interesting. I've got this other similar concept where, in terms of plagiarism and cheating by students, some of the older studies show very, very high levels of cheating, various definitions, so probably not consistent to look at everything, but maybe slightly uncomfortable in the room in 2 seconds from now. If some of these studies suggest that 70, 80, 90% of students cheat in some way, and I think they are now academics. And I think those academics are now considering how students are cheating. And it's just continually going around. So I think quite often, quite soon, we end up at a philosophical level. It's like, what are we doing? And it's systems thinking. It's so complex, and this is all happening at the same time. So finding this way through and just making sense of this is tricky.
Yeah. Yeah. What AI?
So thank you, Simon.
Challenger. He gave me his allowed in advance and he told me, try to find a way to leave some of my ideas. So I managed to do that. I'll manage Simon to refer to you as well. Ian, I'll refer to you. Xavier, I'm still working on that. I put a spoiler alert with my title. My title is Normalizing the Use of AI. So if you think about the continuum, are we short it or against it? You can still already get an idea of where we are. I am saying we. Because I'm here representing the institution where I work. It's one of the most famous and prestigious hotel schools in France. It's called the Hotel the Deportivo de Sneddon. It is located in the southwest of France, in a region called Darryn. It's about 100 kilometers from Bordeaux. We are a very specialized institution. I will tell you a little bit about the context. We only offer 2 qualifications, a BA in hotel management and an MA in hotel management. And we're a small institution compared to, of course, where your colleagues are from. We have 200 undergraduate students, roughly 100 of each year graduate, and we have about 100 master's students over 2 years. It's small as well in terms of staff, although our staffing model is interesting. We have 20 staff who are employed full-time by the institution, and then they are, to use your expression, Darryn, student support and administration. Those people don't do any of the teaching. The teaching is done by subject experts. So, for example, Simon, if there is a module about hospitality and law, the school will get someone who specialist on law to come and teach for 3 days. We only teach two-block teaching, so when students are at school, it is 8 hours a day, so 8 hours over 3 days, you would do 24 hours of teaching equivalent of 2 hours a week over that course. So it's a very different model for all of you. We are a hotel school, we are a professional school, so as a consequence, we have to respond. I will say that in the next slides, there's some slides from the brochures. As you can see, students always have to look very formal. And we will do some casual dressing. And of course, this is what I use your names that you think, no, this is for the brochure. No, absolutely no. This is my experience. This is what we are like in class. All the boys have to wear tie, girls have to look very professional. We use computers a lot, and it's to use artificial intelligence a lot. But the first study is not only for students, it is for staff as well. This is me with some students. I have a large collection of files now. This is me. And so I have this luxury today not to wear a tie, and I sent a photo earlier to my students, and they said, but Dr. is not wearing a tie. This is the first time they showed me a tie. Disclaimer, I contacted the organizer to ask if it was okay not to have a tie. This is fine. The last photo I have here in the middle is two students of mine looking half chill, half stressed, because the students have they are chill and they are stressed. Being students in this hotel school is very difficult for psychological reasons, because they don't have to identities. The students are in their final year, so 1 week per month they're at school with 8 hours of teaching a day. For 3 weeks a month, they work in hotels. They work in the school where typically they are assistant director. So they have staff that they manage. So they go from one identity to the next. They go from being a manager with some power, responsibility, authority, budget, staff review for 3 weeks, and then the following weeks they go to sit in class back in what in French we call the course. They need to navigate from one to the other. And what we do with the students, we prepare them to have careers in the hotel sector. And in the hotel sector, AI is the norm. And this is why I'll talk to you about authentic assessment very, very soon. I've got a few slides to develop this idea of AI being the norm. Maybe you have not thought about this way, but I'm sure you all booked flights and you realize that from one day to the next, flight has a different price. And yeah, by the way, I flew from France just to be with you today. And it's the same in hotels. The example I have is the Westin in Singapore. I just went for a simple screenshot, and it shows us the difference of prices from one day to the next. At the end of July, 29th of August, in Singaporean dollars, room with $770. The next day, it dropped by 14%. 2 days later, it dropped even more, and then 2 days later, we have an increase of 25%. But it's not someone sitting in the back office with their calculator or trying to put some dice to decide on the prices. This is using AI. And yes, this is AI, not generative AI. I will use generative AI very soon in another example. So here we are in Singapore, so we're trying to London. My next example is a hotel in London, and I'm going to use this example about generative AI. It's a hotel called Edward Hotel next to Paddington, and for 10 years already, this hotel has an app. When you check in, you will automatically receive a message. Telling you, hey, I am Edward, I am your assistant, do you need help with anything? Is your very swimming pool or PhD answer? And I get the expression, yes, of course, we will, and so on. This is not someone from Edward responding individually to those messages. This is generative AI. I've worked for 10 years with that in the industry. I've got a few more examples. This example is in the Marriott for 8 years now. I've been working in partnership with Alexa from Amazon, so you can be in your room at the Marriott story and ask, could you please dim the light, or could you please increase the heating, and Xavier will your name again. You will think, well, okay, this is not a big deal, we don't need to do all that. I entirely agree. And you have to use a lot of all the ethics that someone uses very in what inclusion, and we have a great example of what Hilton is doing now. Hilton very here. Hilton is using AI powered virtual systems to help guests to our line of all the vision. So you can start thinking, yes, I can make a link between AI and inclusivity. Hilton is at the avant-garde way of use of AI. I've got another example here. This is very recent. It was an article from January 2025. Hilton are using AI to train their staff, to train their receptionists about how to deal with difficult guests. And maybe it's better to be trained as a receptionist by a chatbot, by virtual reality, instead of having one day we have a scenario here, a guest asks me for breakfast, so how do you deal with this as a receptionist? And you can tell that they don't acronym about what you have to do. If you're focusing on the hard skills, so you need to show correctly that you hear, yes, ma'am, I understand the problem, show empathy, or you must be very angry. A is about apologizing, R is about resolving, and we're going to send breakfast to your room straight away, and C is thank you very much for drawing our attention to that. I think I've got one more example of what Hilton is doing, and thinking about sustainability. They use AI, not Gen AI, but AI for food waste management. And I had very many other examples. And then Oksana told me, look, you can do a little less than 20 minutes. So I didn't summarize all of my examples here, but I hope you get, I hope you really get the message that in the hotel industry, AI is already the norm. You can start thinking where I'm going to here. We're a hotel school. We cannot tell the students 3 weeks out of 4, use AI all the time at work. So that's just a quick recap of the examples that I gave you about AI in the industry for revenue management. I mentioned dynamic pricing. Just the front office, there is some hotels start using facial recognition. There's a very interesting one in China. It's a hotel part of Alibaba, and I think it's called Fly Zoo, or Zoo Fly, if you want to check it on YouTube. But facial recognition is used to enter your room. So when you go to reception, I will use you as an example. You don't get a key, but your face is being scanned, and then you go to your room. And then your face is scanned again, and it opens the room for you. So lots of issues about ethics and legal aspects. I can see your face. Let's not get into that. AI is used also for housekeeping. For example, small scheduling. I have 200 guests living today. I have 20 cleaners. What should they clean in priority? Or I've got a big group of tourists arriving from the UK. And someone will be doing that with their computer and started thinking about it, but it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier with AI for the inventory as well. Line management, quality control, computer vision, checking if not all the rules are being sanitized, etc. AI is used everywhere, front office, bedrooms as well. Briefly mentioned earlier, smart rooms. In the back office, I've got several examples. One of my favorites is predictive maintenance. If you have lifts, based on past experience, you cannot predict that load. Lift number 2 is going to need fixing soon. So you anticipate the possible problem and you get people to come and check it or fix it before there is a problem. So in the industry, we use AI a lot. And we need to prepare our students to be leaders in this sector. In this sector, AI is the norm. So what we do already, what we already, we talked a lot about it, we didn't simplify it. It was very interesting for me to hear some of you saying, well, students saying that, maybe it's a little taboo. It is not for us to use it, we talk about it, we use it in class with the students. Of course, we mentioned the limits, and this is mainly Gen AI. Not only because, we have some software, for example, for dynamic pricing, but, we use it in class. Chatbots, for example, to generate ideas. I will show you examples of my own practice later. We created virtual hotels. That's something I did a couple of years ago, different rooms to try to stimulate the environment in which our students will work. Bearing in mind that 3 weeks out of 4, they're in a hotel as well. We encourage them to use AI outside of class, as if they had a private tutor. Maybe they're studying marketing and they do not understand the concept and they may not be too comfortable emailing, texting their tutor late at night, but they can go on AI using the chatbot for that. And we allow students to use AI for their assignments as well. I will give you an example of that later. Next year, I was just discussing with a couple of colleagues of mine there. What we want to do is more classes about prompt engineering. We've got some students who are very good at this, and others who are not. So thinking about equity, we want to make sure that everybody knows how to use it. We could use it more to prepare for interviews. There are students who will do masters in institutions, so some of them know how to use chatbots in particular to prepare for interviews. Some do not, so we need to have some input on that. We use it a little bit to support language skills, language learning, but not in a very systematic way. The school has 2 languages, French and English, but you have students who study Arabic, Spanish, Chinese as well, and it can help them, but we may need to show them how to do this. Use it to learn more about latest trends in the hospitality industry. Use it to develop some soft skills, empathy, problem solving, communication. I still need to think how we are going to do this at the beginning of the year. We will have some workshops, really helping students develop those skills, realizing it's not just about ChatGPT and writing essays. In any case, our students don't write essays. We don't have any assignments that would look like write an essay. And we need to encourage all tutors to use it. We need to do some training, some upskilling all the time for students. And for staff, again, we want to go beyond just using chatbots. We have an AI policy. We need to revise it, and we'll probably need to revise it again in 6 months' time, and again in 6 months' time. The current one was not written involving students and tutors like me. It was just written by the so-called digital team, which was administrators and someone from technology. And we have to tell them, well, you don't know how you do this, so let us tell you, and then you can write a policy that will suit us. For a small number of modules, students will actually give you how they assess the students. And I really emphasize that it is a small number, and we will help them go back to the learning outcome and decide what you need to do differently. Typical example was for HR. The colleague teaching HR wanted the students to write a report about the latest changes or latest trends in the industry. And as we know, it's just too easy to go Copilot, ChatGPT, etc. and get to the text. There's no point doing that. Go back to your expression from earlier today, Ian. We want to assess the process, not just the end product. I've got some examples, some visuals about my own practice. I will start with some of the slides I show my students first, about how I conceptualize that, so they understand where I come from. So those are 4 images that I created using. This is my first metaphor. How do you interpret this? What comes to mind? Yeah, it's a road. Yeah, initially I had C3PO, but I thought I should create that. But it's an agent. And I told you I managed to talk with about agents. So he's an assistant in the hotel that would be a concierge. He's a teaching assistant, and he's a student assistant. So some of you will not use the word anthropomorphization earlier today. This is exactly that. I'm very comfortable with that. Students having the impression that chatbot is an assistant. That's not a metaphor. What comes to mind when you say this? Tools. It's kitchen tools. And in a kitchen, in a professional restaurant, the chef will have a range of knives. You do the same with the bread knife and with the paring knife and with the boning knife. So ChatGPT is just a tool. It's a tool amongst others. There are very many others. They're all important, all in different ways. So key message we give them is just a tool. Third metaphor. How do you want to phrase it? It's Google steroids, exactly. It's everybody uses Google, and people would say, no, I don't use AI. I use Google. Well, come on, Google search uses principle of AI. But when we use perplexity, you mentioned perplexity, it's like Google Scholar, but the AI version. So it enables us to do research a lot better, a lot faster, and again, we want to do more to show students how to use them. That's my metaphor. What comes to mind when you say this? It's an infinite library. We are a very small institution. We have one library, which is the size of this room. But thanks to the internet and thanks to the power of AI, we can have access to infinite resources. So this was my starting point about those visual metaphors I present to the students. Some examples concretely about how we do with what I do with students. I teach them a course of sustainability, and years ago I would have prepared some slides about breakfast buffet in a hotel. How can we make it sustainable? I used to do that. Now I don't. Now we're in class with the students. We just the computers are open, and I will ask Xavier to do this on Copilot, and you will do it on Grok, and you will do it on Beta AI, and you will do it on another one, and then we can compare the text that we have. And yes, we will notice that it is extremely generic, not right to a particular context. And then the students can think, well, this in my hotel, yes, I can do that, or no, I cannot do that. Second example about organizing events. I have to organize a bar mitzvah. How can I make sure it's sustainable? So again, students, don't ask me. Let's ask our chatbot friend who will give us some ideas, and then we will say, well, this is generic. How do I apply it to my event? My event is not a bar mitzvah, it's a mitzvah. Give me some ideas about doing it. So we use AI for text generation. We use it for images generation. I don't know what is on this slide. No, this is not the one I expected. On this slide here, we use to brainstorm. Some of the limits of the tools, and that's what well. AI is both unlimited and limited at the same time. They are designed to please you. They will give you information that you do not trust everything you see. You don't trust everything you see there. We use AI to create images as well. This is still my course of sustainable development, talk about sports. And instead of students creating text, I wanted them to create images. It's like playing handball, making it sustainable with solar panels, recycling it, etc. My final example is what I did with students was open computer exam. Last week, many schools that have open book exam, well, we do the same. And students were asked to evaluate how sustainable is their hotel. Half of the students did not even open their computer because they were able to answer. They were definitely out of COVID. And ChatGPT is not going to tell them how sustainable is their hotels. Those chatbots are not going to make recommendations about making this specific hotel more sustainable. Students would use a DeepL or Google Translate because maybe they're only able to articulate their ideas in French. And because this assessment is supposed to be in English, then they will translate it. But it's no problem at all for us, for me, for them, to do this computer exam. And I'm finishing. This is pretty much my last slide, what I was really happy to do with you is to disseminate, to tell you about the work I do with those students, sharing good practice, maybe making you think, oh yes, why not this is true. This is not the first project I work on this with two students. This was last year. It was a project with Warwick, Oxford Brookes, and University of Hull when we worked on this topic. Oh yeah, it was an NTFS project. I'm a national teaching fellow in the UK. I should have said that at the beginning. This is a hotel I created, totally generated by AI. It was for another publication, and I just want to finish with an image of my my students, telling you what I plan to do next. You know, there's a research paper publication on the way, and I want to try something else next October. I like the idea of getting essays marked by computer, but they don't write essays. But maybe I will try to do something like that, and I promise them there will be their photos on the screen here. So. This is me. This was my topic on managing the use of AI in hospitality. Thank you.
I just have a question. You mentioned simulating hotel environments with AI. How you go about that? The reason why I'm asking, I'm in teacher training. And I find that that's something I've looked into.
The hotel I created, I will just go very quickly back to that slide. It was a fictional hotel, and they had different rooms inspired by, one was a Frida Kahlo room, one was a Kandinsky, Michelangelo, Giorgio O'Keeffe, etc. And I gave them different personalities, and then I asked students to create the rooms as well. Always to talk about sustainable development, and realizing that they don't get created well. I think again, I had an anecdote here. That I wrote on this at the top. Using image generators is fun, but the results can be erratic. I kept saying, I want a glass jar full of water, and I did not get that. But try to play with that. Absolutely. Yes, it's fun. Yes. Yes, please.
Can you tell me which tools you're using for your image generation, and have you found it?
All of those were probably. I can answer that. Some were with ChatGPT, others were with Copilot. Those are the two words I use. I use more and more as well. I use Darryn, I use several. Yes.
Which is the best one for filling the water jug and not spilling the water over the top?
This is what I need to find out. Absolutely. It's what you said earlier. There are many tools. I mean, the kind of specializing in asking, how do you recommend? I have no idea. What are your needs? I want to follow which one you recommend. I don't know what are your needs. So I think it's the same. It's about playing with them. And after a while, they address you. They start knowing you. You start knowing them. Most people get this sort of wow. You teach them really nice. So it's my favorite right now. But in 2 weeks, maybe I'll discover it. What is your favorite?
It's very popular with my students. Books incredibly popular with them already, and it is valuable here.
Absolutely, yes.
It's great for video.
Yes, absolutely.
The issue is that different tools for different.
Absolutely, yes.
I really enjoyed that.
Thank you, my pleasure. Yes.
Any more questions? Yes? Or Simon?
I was just thinking, with the history training you do with students, do you use Avatar?
No, not yet. That would be really interesting. Not yet, no, but I would like to do that. Because an Avatar can be more objective, maybe. Than someone who knows the students already, knows about their weaknesses. And you see that students are getting started to panic, and you don't really to push them. But yeah, I would love to try that. Yes. So, yes, I know you.
I just wanted to see the limitation of what you are doing, or the risk or whatnot.
Many limitations. I mean, resistance not just from staff, but resistance from students who started arguing that, you're not sustainable because you use AI and it's bad for the environment. And it was coming from the students. From the side of the academics or social staff, it's just upskilling. I need time to learn how to use this. And We don't have any concern about plagiarism because everything we do is verified. It's very authenticated assessment because it's based on the test. And we do lots of oral assessments as well. Next week is full week of Viva. All final year students have a Viva. So they're not assessed on the written text they wrote, but they're assessed on a 20 minutes conversation with the panel composed of professional members and some academics. But there are limits, and we're still we're learning all of that as we do our requests. Yes. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for attending our conference. We made it tremendously well on time. And now you have lots of information to symbiotic relations. And so we encourage you to join our next further conferences. And also for the discussion and how the school is welcome to continue with our speakers. Thank you so much.